Hi, in this video I'm going to show you some tools that I've made for switching articulations of your sample libraries in Reaper. So to start off with, we're going to go to my Github repository, which I've set up for my Reaper stuff. And the address of this is github.com/davidhealey/rescript. And I'll put that link in the description below the video on YouTube. In this repository, there's some JS plugins, there's some Lua scripts, and there's some toolbar icons. And over the next few videos, we're going to go through what I've got here and discuss them in some detail. Now, to get hold of these, you just go to clone or download and click download zip, and you should end up with a zip file like this. So once you've got that, you need to go to Reaper, go to the options menu, go down to show Reaper resource path in Explorer or Finder. And this is the location where you're going to put these files. So to start off, open the data folder, and where we've got toolbar icons, we'll go in there, and that's where we're going to extract the toolbar icons from the zip file to. Then go back to the Reaper folder, and we'll go up there and go into the effects folder, and then just make a new folder in here. I've called mine Healey, and just put the JS plugins into there. And finally go down to scripts, make a subfolder in here. I've called mine Dave's playback scripts, and put the Lua scripts in there. All these folders, make sure you keep the folder structure, that is important. Okay, once you've done that, we're ready to go. So I've loaded up a key switched violin patch. The key switches are used to switch between different articulations. So we've got C0, C#0, D0, all the way through the key switches. Now these are actually offset from the keys Reaper uses. So middle C in play, I believe, is C3, whereas in Reaper it's set to C4. So when we actually come to switching articulations, we'll have to offset by an octave, but we'll deal with that later. So let's just add some MIDI data in here just to get started. And I'll just go into the notation editor to do this. We'll have a single clef, and I'll just put in some notes. I'm just going to enter stepwise notes here. I think I must have hit a key switch there. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so I'm going to go into the piano roll, and I'm just going to pull this note forward a bit, and we'll put in a key switch like that, and then maybe we'd have another one over here, and then we'd play back and it would switch articulation. So that works fine, but the problem is now if I play back from here, this should be sustaining, but we're still getting staccato because it will always play back on the last key switch that was triggered. It doesn't chase back to the last articulation. So to get around that, we're going to use something called the UACC, which stands for Universal Articulation Continuous Controller. And the UACC was invented by Blake Robinson for Spitfire Audio, and they use it in a lot of their sample libraries. And if you type Blake Robinson UACC into Google, you'll find more details out about this. But basically, the UACC is CC32. You can see I've got that down here on this controller lane. And the idea is we use CC32 messages to change articulations rather than using key switches. The only downside to using the UACC as opposed to key switches is with key switches, some sample libraries allow you to press multiple key switches at once to stack articulations, and you can't really do that with the UACC. The other downside is that most sample libraries don't currently support the UACC, so you have to use key switches or convert the UACC to key switches somehow. And I've got a solution for that which we'll look at later. The standard for the UACC I have in this drop down menu here. So it has long notes, and you put in a CC32 value of 1 to get long generic, so that might be your sustains, and then 2 for your long alternative, 3, etc. all the way down, and that's all your longs. Then you've got legato, shorts, decoratives, phrases, and various. And you'll notice a lot of these have undefined ones as well, and that makes this standard quite flexible, so it will suit a lot of different sample libraries. And if there isn't a specific setting for your sample library, you can just use one of the undefined ones or just adapt it as necessary. So these are all, this one says long generic, so that could be anything, but usually you'd use it for sustain. So to insert these UACC messages, if you wanted to insert one for, say, sustain, that would be a UACC of 1. So you'd have to come down here and then probably highlight it, bring up the properties, and change that to 1. And then change it to 1. And then for staccato, you'd put in where you want your staccato. And I think staccato is 40. So we change that to 40 and we'll get staccato. And that's the idea. But obviously this is a bit of a pain to put these in by hand. And it's not very good. You can't really do it by moving a continuous controller because it's so sensitive. So the solution I've got here is really the whole point of this particular video. We're going to discuss how we can easily implement the UACC. So my solution is we select the notes that we want to apply a particular articulation to. Let's say it's the sustain. We go to this menu here that I've created, go to longs, click that, and it will add the UACC to each of these notes. Now obviously because it chases back, because it's a continuous controller, it will always play the last articulation. So if we, oops, I've entered a note there. If we start playback here, it's going to first of all play the CC. That's just the way Reaper works, it chases back. And I think that's the same in all DAWs actually. So you don't actually need these ones in the middle here, but it's good to have them there anyway, because if you change your mind about this note, let's say we decide to make this one staccato, it doesn't affect the note after it. So that works for any of these articulations from the UACC. So I'll show you how to create this button here now. I've customized the built-in toolbar. We'll open a new toolbar and customize that. So just go to right click on this one, go to open toolbar and open one of these. Just make sure it's a MIDI toolbar and not one of the generic ones. So we'll do MIDI toolbar 5, that opens up over here. And now we're going to add a button just like this one here, so you have the UACC drop down menu. Just right click, go to customize toolbar, and if you're not familiar with this, this allows you to add actions, Reaper actions, which you're probably familiar with from the actions menu if you've been using Reaper for any amount of time. So you can load actions in here and assign buttons to them. So we're going to click add, and the first thing you'll need to do is hit load down here where it says rescript, hit load, and go to the folder where you installed those plugins. And then once you're there, go to the scripts, and you want to go to UACC and find UACC menu. Now I've already installed this, so I'm not going to hit open, but you'd hit open here. And then you'll be able to type UACC in here, and there's the menu there. So hit select and close. And if you hit save, you can now see it has appeared here in our new toolbar. And if you want to give it an icon, you can go to icon, change icon, and if you install the icon pack that I provided, you type UACC and you just get a button that says UACC. And it's as easy as that. So now you can enter UACC data and it will be put on the correct CC lane for any notes you have selected. Right, in the next video we're going to look at how we can add individual buttons for different UACCs. For instance, if you want just a single button that adds a staccato mark and a staccato CC number, we'll look at how to do that. And then we'll also look at how to get it to play back the correct articulations in your sample libraries. Alright, cheers guys, I'll see you in the next video.